when the COVID hit, I started a show called the Livingston Taylor Show. And so I wrote a theme for that, which I very much enjoy playing. It says, with one wave of that mighty hand, the stormy seas were parted. It's gonna be so easy. Let's get started. It's the Livingston Taylor Show. It's the Livingston Taylor Show. You never know where it's gonna go. It's the Livingston Taylor Show. Is he sinking in a boat? Is he crashing in a plane? Does he even understand that the devil loves the rain? Is he quietly eccentric or actually insane? What stork brought that brain? It's the Livingston Taylor Show. It's the Livingston Taylor Show. We're out of time. We gotta go. We'll be back next week, I know. We're gonna turn on the tap and let it flow. It's the Livingston Taylor Show.
I want to, the audience of one claps.
That's fine.
So let's talk about what you got going on now. So you've got this fantastic show that you've been putting on, and you just had your 1-year anniversary, right?
Yes, that's right.
How did the Livingston Taylor Show come about, and what can we expect coming up?
Well, I think the show came about out of the lockdown of COVID. I had a memory in my brain between 1956 and 1962. The Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs show was broadcast for a half hour, once or twice a week, out of the Grand Ole Opry. And they had sponsors, and I like sponsors. I like commercial radio and television. I think that you learn a lot about a society, about a people, by what people think are valuable enough to advertise. I love going, for example, when I go to a town, or if I go to another country, I love going into hardware stores and seeing what people think is valuable in this community. What are they buying? What do they want? What do they need? There's a lot of information in commercial television and radio. So I decided that I would have sponsors on my show. And I used my sponsors. For instance, I had the American Society of Asphalt Producers, because I love pavement. I love asphalt, what it is. So I find things that interest me, and I decided to be sponsored by Evergreen Marine. That's a worldwide shipping organization, because I then read up on container shipping. And what you come to understand is that in the 60s, container shipping became viable, and it simply reduced the cost of shipping by 90%. 90%. And these, I love telling my audience about these amazing unseen paths and truths and questions.
I find your perspectives on things like so different but so logical. And for example, when we were talking about the music executives, because of the fact that, you know, there seems to be this, for example, for a long time, Prince would wear slave on his face because he was combating that. But it seems you recognize the capitalistic survival of the fittest aspect of it and the need for that talent to be cultivated. And another perspective that I found that was interesting is a perspective. I mean, a lot of us have siblings, and some of them are siblings that have done better than us. Some are siblings that have done worse. And your perspective when it comes to your brother James's success, I always found very, very interesting, because I've heard you say that you've never felt like you were ever in his shadow. And it was almost like a rising tide raises all ships perspective. Can you share that? Because I think there's something our viewers can benefit from your perspective that's different than I think some people's in that situation.
Again, one of the things that is a truth is that the cost of fame is stunningly high. The problem with being seen is it's very difficult to see when you're being seen. The idea that I've been able to live this life with my beautiful brother James taking the glare of the bright sun. And so, listen, he took me to the top of the mountain with him. It's not like I'm not up there. And but I get to be in the shadows. I get to watch the adventure, be on the adventure. I remember one time somebody, not knowing it was me, sort of lamenting the fact that Livingston Taylor had to live in James's shadow. And I said, well, it's true, but let's be very clear. James doesn't get to fly his airplane. I get to fly mine. I love, above all else, the freedom to go and do what I want, where I want, when I want. The level of freedom that I have is stunning. And I assure you, Prince's sense of being a slave was not, he might have blamed the record company, but he was a slave to the life he created. He was a slave to his own celebrity. That was not that he could choose anything else, but he chose it because he was, he could choose nothing else. I have other choices. And all I care about, what I care about in this world, I care about many things, but I love knowing how things work. I love distilling things down to that simple point, to understanding the value of a gatekeeper, of walking into a gallery with a portfolio of paintings and having that gallery owner, having her look at you and take out 2 of your 50 paintings and go, I like this and I like this. The rest of it sucks. I can't sell it. Come back when you've got 50 of these and you'll have a show. Welcome to curating art. And you can like it or not like it. What the internet allowed was the circumvention of the getting around. It allowed you to circumvent that reality. And listen, that's fine, but make no mistake, quality comes from wealth concentrating talent. That's why, because of the Catholic Church, you can go to the Sistine Chapel today and enjoy Michelangelo's work. By the way, there was an architect, there was a builder, there were craftspeople who built the Sistine Chapel, and the Catholic Church was willing to pay money enough that it exists and lasts to this very day, and they've been willing to maintain it. So let's be clear as to how this stuff happens.
Now, when you refer to your students, it's because you teach at the Berklee School of Music in Boston.
I am presently winding down, given my my dotage, but yes, I taught for 30 years at the Berklee College of Music.
I hadn't realized that it was that long.
It was a long time.
So I'd like to go to a commercial break and then come back and maybe have you close out the show with a song. Can you do that for us?
I certainly can, and you know how I feel about commercial breaks, very positively.
We'll be right back with Livingston Taylor.